Hello and welcome to another episode of Autism Family Life, bringing you all things Autism Family Life in 30 minutes or less. In this week's episode, we are going to be taking a slight break from the mental health issues and from the other couple of things that we were talking about in previous episodes, and we are going to be talking about how to structure your summer routine with your autistic child. Before we get to this week's episode, I just want to remind you to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever it is that you are getting your podcasts. And if you are tuning in on YouTube, to please subscribe to the channel. And yes, again, if you are watching on YouTube, I am still wearing the same clothes, or at least it looks like I am, because I do batch record these in about episodes of 4. So this is the 4th episode. So yes, the next episode, I will have different clothing on. But, I am changing my clothes every day. Sometimes I try to do my hair every day. It's just how it is. Anyway, so getting to the topic of this week's episode, and it is talking about the summer routine with your autistic child. And one of the reasons I want to talk to you guys about this is because the extended school year isn't always available in all states anymore. I know with New York State, we do have the extended school year program, but even with the extended school year program, there's still a little bit of a gap between the end of school and when the extended school year starts. So that gives us, about 2-3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, let's say, between the end of school and the beginning of the summer routine, and then between the end of the summer and into the beginning of the school year. And that time off between the end of the school year and the beginning of summer, or then the end of the extended school year and the beginning of the regular school year, it can be kind of tough. And in the past, we've structured our own little routine and our own little our summer thing, and we've tried to create like our own extended school year program at home. And one of the ways that we've done that is by looking at the goals and things like that she was working on during the school year in her IEP, and then kind of adapting that for home, or at least looking for things that made the most sense to work on. So for our family, the things that made most sense to work on, and that I could do within my own ability, were, to get her outside and moving with some gross motor stuff. And then we also worked on some of her receptive language skills, and we would work on social skills. And then we'd kind of go from there. Sometimes it would be just, going outside to play, or we'd be going to the park, or going, to the spray pad for that gross motor stuff. And then, like, for the fine motor, and then even for the sensory stuff, we would do things like playing with bubbles, or we would do sensory bins, and then, receptive language. It was a lot of playing games and singing songs and stuff like that. But then beyond that, we needed to be able to structure the summer. And I know it kind of sounds crazy to want to structure your summer, because your summer is supposed to be more relaxed. It's supposed to be more carefree. But for our autistic children, they function so much better with routine and structure. And that doesn't just magically go away because the summertime is here. So even if your children aren't going to be home with you all day, like if they're going to a summer camp, you still want to be able to provide routine and structure for them. And in your summer schedule, you want to include things like your weekly activities, the morning routine, the afternoon routine, evening routines, and weekend routines. And within those 4 separate sections of, and then, further, you can have the weekend morning, weekend afternoon, weekend evening. And within each of these particular sections, you want to put in things like weekly activities, where, they're free choices and stuff like that. And in the next couple of episodes following this one, we're also going to talk about planning a vacation with your autistic child. I will talk to you guys about our family's experience at Sesame Place, because it was one of the most amazing things we've ever done as a family. And then we're also going to talk about camping, which is not my favorite thing, but for some autistic kids, they absolutely love going camping. So let's then move back to this summer routine. And when you are setting up your summer routine, so, maybe get out a piece of paper, or you can refer back to this. Or if you go to the show notes for this episode, you'll find all of my little notations and notes and ideas and things for how to set up your summer routine. So ideally, though, your summer routine is going to look very similar schedule-wise and structure-wise to your child's school year routine, with the main difference being that your child just is not at school. And while you don't want to exactly fill in your summer days like you would a school day, you do want to give them some of the same predictability in terms of activities and the timing between activities, so like the transitions between. Some kids are extremely compartmentalized. My daughter is one of those. So the things that you do at school, you won't necessarily do at home. So we had to differentiate between like the fun academic stuff versus the, the more structured academic things that they would do at school. So the way we teach things at home is going to be slightly different, if not drastically different, than the way she would learn them at school. And one of the reasons we work on these functional academic skills is because it's not so much the summer slide, but it is to make sure that she doesn't lose any of her skills between the time that she's at home with me versus the time that she's in her extended school year program. And the functional life skills and things like that, so we're talking about like, counting money and it's just some basic life skills like self-help skills and cooking skills or something like that. And the summertime might actually be a great time to start a loose after school at home program where it's basically just taking your child's IEP goals and structuring them into activities, whether it's academic in nature, social skills in nature, or other in nature, and then, adapting those activities and things for stuff that you can do either at home after school or in the community after school. Like things like the cooking skills or folding laundry or doing chores, because chores are a great way to incorporate functional life skills into your child's day. Now, other things and ideas that you want to include into your autistic child's summer routine schedule, beyond just getting outside and playing outside, which is a great thing to do. You can try a family garden for a sensory experience. You can look into starting swimming lessons. You can go for local hikes, and it's a great time to start, balancing your child's screen time. I am an advocate of using screen time in, small amounts, or at least within reasonable amounts. And there's nothing wrong with using screen time. Whether you're going to use your screen time as a free time choice activity or you're using your screen time as a reward for completing something else, like, an academic task. So creating and structuring routine for your autistic child, well, it might seem a little bit crazy at first, is something that you are definitely going to benefit from because, again, most autistic children, they really do thrive with the structure and the routine because it gives them predictability and it helps take away, some of the anxiety and nervousness around transitions. And again, one of the ways that you decide what goes into your child's summer routine, if you take a look at their IEP for the school year and you look at, a lot of the goals and things that they're working on, and then start looking for ways to adapt your child's IEP goals to a more manageable and reasonable home environment kind of thing. Again, in the show notes for this week's episode, I'm going to have a link to the blog post where I'm talking about the summer structure for your autistic child. And it's going to include some more ideas, links, and tips, and also going to include, my visual schedule toolkit, which is just a group of my more popular visual schedule charts. Now, this does bring me also to the topic, summer behavior management and then summer extended school year. As I know, some states are doing away with the extended school year program. And that's kind of disheartening to me because for some of our autistic kids who receive services over the summer, if the extended school year is being taken away, they may also lose the access to those services during the summer. And while we as parents are capable of doing so many things with our kids, sometimes we may not always have the ability or the resources to completely replicate the services that their children are getting during the school year. So that's my other thing, is that unless your child is attending, a summer program or a summer camp where they're going to be providing these services like the speech therapy, the occupational therapy, and the physical therapy, I'm going to be sharing some more ideas with you over the next coming weeks with how to kind of structure and provide these things at home in a functional life skills setting. And the reason I focus on functional life skills and functional academic skills is because all of these things are preparing your child ultimately for the future. And they're preparing your child for a life of being independent. And even though this might seem, very far off for some of you, if you have younger children, this is still one of those things that you need to be addressing, because it's never too early, I think, to get your child to do things more independently and to get them to be able to do certain things. And it's never too early or too late to focus on functional life skills or to focus on functional academic skills. And I don't mean to slight our kids in saying that it's a waste of time to teach them, regular academic skills or regular life skills. But the functional life skills and functional academic skills, they serve this dual purpose in that they're learning skills that will meet, some academic needs, and meet some life skill needs. But they are also serving the secondary purpose, and maybe the bigger purpose of equipping your child with some very necessary skills that they're going to need if they want to live a more independent life, or if they want to become more independent within their routine at home. And again, having the summertime structure here and structuring your summertime schedule a little bit just might help you in terms of being able to introduce these things at home, because you're at home and you can provide them, you can cater them better to your family's environment and to your family's needs. And having that sense of familiarity with being at home just might help you even more. Then also gets it into your child's routine that, okay, this is what I can do at home during the day, or this is what I can do at home in the morning to better help myself, to better help the family. So even if it's something so simple as introducing, like how to fold the bed, how to make your bed in the morning, or how to pick out your clothes at night to get ready for the morning, these are things that you can work on. And it's functional life skills, but it's also teaching your child some responsibility and fostering their independence. Now, this is also going to depend on the age of your child. Most 4 to 5 year olds aren't going to be entirely capable of doing these things, especially depending on their cognitive level and then their ability to understand receptive language. There are even some teenagers who might have difficulties with these things because of various cognitive delays or with executive functioning difficulties. But if you have the time and you can be consistent about it and you break it down first into the simplest and smallest steps possible, then it's still reasonable to think that you can introduce these skills, and that it's also reasonable to think that your child is going to be able to learn them. My daughter is one of those children, and I can't even say children. I mean, she's going to be 18. She's almost an adult legally. And my daughter is one of those individuals that if you teach her things with enough repetition and enough, sometimes it requires hand over hand in the beginning, sometimes it's just a lot of modeling. But if you show her these things with enough repetition, eventually she's going to incorporate it into her routine, and she's going to incorporate it into her into her vocabulary. She's non-speaking, but she does have the language bank, even if it might not be in words like you or I have. So for us, that's just a couple of the things that we do. It's the functional life skills. So things like laundry or basic cooking skills or making the bed or a sensory garden. My daughter likes to be able to put her hands in things, and I have to watch her with hers because she does have a history of pica. So some of those sensory things are not always great for her to be partaking in. And she doesn't get so much, out of doing artwork, or she likes music. She likes to listen to music, so we make music one of her free choices. But that's just the other thing too with this structuring your summer routine. It's not so much, don't look at it so much about scheduling your day so much that you're scheduling out the fun and things like that. Look at it as providing stability and function and structure within your day enough so that you have all of this abundance of free time, so to speak, to enjoy all those fun things and to then make room for some of the more spontaneous things. And if you're using a summer routine with your child and then you're also planning a summer vacation, whether it's a trip away or doing a camping trip, then you can start working on this within your child's routine. You give them a visual countdown, you give them strategies, you give them the things and the tools that they need to best prepare themselves for those situations. And you do kind of hope and pray for the best that it's all going to work out. But it's just having that bit of structure, that bit of preparation in place, it really can go, a long way. And I think, structuring your routine over the summertime for your autistic child, it helps you, yes, but ultimately it helps your child as well. I would love to know what you think about structuring the summer routine. If you want to click over in the show notes and just leave me a comment on that post, or, leave me a comment on YouTube or wherever it is that you might be listening to the podcast. I would love to hear your thoughts on structuring a summer routine. And, I would love to hear what you do for your summer routine. I will get into more summer routine topics next week. So if you have, suggestions or you want to share what your routine looks like, please let me know. And I want to be able to share as many as possible. So until next week, I hope you have an amazing day, and thank you for tuning in.